Guten Tag, mein Name ist Daniel Schaad. Ich schreibe seit mittlerweile 11 Jahren den Stock Report. Ich habe heute bei mir Wendell Zerb. Er ist seit 3 Jahren President and CEO von Exeter Resource. Ich beobachte die Company mittlerweile seit dem Jahr 2006, berichte regelmäßig darüber im Stock Report. Wir haben einige Höhen und Tiefen mit der Aktie hinter uns und ich freue mich, dass ich heute die Chance nutzen kann, Wendell persönlich einige Fragen zu stellen hier auf der PDSC in Toronto. Und würde ich sagen, fangen wir einfach mal direkt an. Ja. Wendell, nice having you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
Could you please give us an overview about Exeter and about your personal background, please?
Sure. So Exeter Resource Corp, this is a company that's been around for about a decade. Very successful management group and history behind the company prior to me joining about 3 years ago. 3 different large mineral discoveries, 2 of which were spun out of the company in about 2010, and those 2 assets were Argentinian assets that were taken over by Yamana Gold. The core asset that sits in Exeter today is called Caspice. It's one of the largest gold, copper, porphyry assets in the world. When you look at it on the largest scale, it's about 40 million ounces gold equivalent. But what's very important about the asset itself is that it also has unique characteristics where you have a starting zone, you have a higher grade core to the porphyry, and therefore those characteristics make it quite a significant deposit. So I've been quite interested in this, and my background is as a geologist. I've been in the business for about 28 years. Background is technical from a mining standpoint on the geology side, on the exploration standpoint, and then I spent a lot of time on the financial side of the mining business as a mining analyst. I've also worked in association with other capital markets groups and transitioned to CEO of Exeter 3 years ago. So this is certainly a project, a company that I've been interested in for many, many years. I've seen the potential from an analyst standpoint, and certainly believe in the potential as a CEO.
Thanks. So what is Exeter working at right now?
So the core direction that we're taking is to de-risk and advance the studies associated with this very large deposit. There was a study done in 2012 that looked at mining this on a very, very large scale. Of course, we've seen in the industry today that enormous capital that it takes for these large-scale projects becomes onerous to any of the companies that are starting them. We've stepped back and said, yes, we can mine it on a large scale, but there's other ways to approach this as well. And the general idea is start small, get big. So again, the characteristics of Caspice allow us to mine the oxide gold component that sits on the very surface of the deposit first. That's very low capex to begin with, and then we have the optionality of looking at extending the pit into this sulfide zone or mining it from a top down. And again, it's the unique characteristics of the deposit that allow us to look at that. So along with that, other things that are important is we're in a very dry area of the Atacama Desert. We've made a very large water discovery to use for our potential mining operation. We're going through the process to acquire those water rights, but we're also looking at other options to use water in the jurisdiction that we're in. Infrastructure is very good. There's road access, there's a power corridor, enormous mining infrastructure in the area, but it's still a matter of coordinating all that for us to move the project forward.
Good. So there's a question from a reader who is wondering about the position of the Sand Valley. It's one of the largest shareholders in Exeter. So is it a strategic investment, or do you have any idea what they are planning?
So I'll give generalities from what I know. Sun Valley has been a shareholder for many years now, but more recently has increased their position in Exeter. I can tell you that Sun Valley, as an investment philosophy, they are believers in the upside in gold, and they certainly view Exeter as having good optionality behind an increasing movement in the gold price. I would like to also think that they believe in management and what we've done, and I think them increasing their position over the last year is a good indication that they're quite happy with what we've been doing.
Okay, thanks. So we were talking about Sun Valley as one of the largest shareholders. Could you give us an overview of the general share structure? How many % of the outstanding shares are in hands of management and insiders and institutionals?
Sure. So from an institutional standpoint, about 33% of the shares are held by institutions. Those are mostly U.S. Gold funds that own the stock, or funds that are geared towards an interest in gold. About 8% of the stock is held by management and close insiders, and then the rest is retail, and a large component of our retail base is U.S. retail. So we have listings in Frankfurt, on the New York market, and on the TSX, and the bulk of our shareholders are U.S. Domiciled retail shareholders, which is about, let's call it 60% of the shares outstanding.
Okay. So 60% aller Aktien in festen Händen, das ist eine sehr starke Quote. Management alleine hält auch nochmal 8%. Also es sind nur 40% aller Aktien im freien Handel, was generell eine sehr niedrige Quote ist. Also spricht für das Vertrauen des Management, der institutionellen Anleger und der Fonds in das Unternehmen. Wendell, anything else you would like to tell our audience about Exeter, the plans of the future?
Sure. There's certainly a number of things that us as a management group we're doing to move Crespicci forward, to de-risk it, to make it better for our shareholders. But what I'd also like to convey is that we believe we've gone through one of the worst metals markets, junior mining markets that we've seen in decades. And when you look at where Exeter is today from a valuation standpoint, we're still trading at very historical lows to what we've seen in other cycles. And I would argue that when you look at our balance sheet at over $20 million in Canadian dollars, we control one of the biggest gold, copper, porphyry systems in the world. It's in a very safe jurisdiction in Chile. Infrastructure is quite good. All of that in combination suggests that we believe we have a great opportunity for our shareholders moving forward, and would just suggest that management's doing what we can to create value.
So, Wendell, thank you for your time. It was great having you. Enjoy the show. So, ja, vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen. Ich hoffe, Sie konnten einige Infos rausziehen aus dem Interview mit Wendell. Ich freue mich, dass er sich heute auf jeden Fall hier Zeit genommen hat, und bis zum nächsten Mal. Danke.